Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to this easy tutorial for the iniBuilds A320neo. We have just vacated our runway after landing and we can now run the after landing procedures. The first thing we do though is to reset the timer by pressing the chrono button 3 times so that it starts running again. This is so that we know when we can shut an engine down for single engine taxi later on. Now with that done, we go down onto the pedestal, disarm the spoilers, and that is your indication to basically start the entire flow. So the flow goes as follows: left to right, and then we go to the top. So weather radar is going off, the flaps are going into the 0 position unless the outside temperature is 30 degrees or more. If the outside temperature is 30 degrees or more, you leave the flaps in the 1 position. Turn the TCAS into standby. Now we can move to the overhead panel, where we are going to set the strobe light to auto, the landing lights into retract, and the nose light into the taxi position. Finally, press the APU master switch, and 3 seconds later we are going to start the APU itself. And that already concludes the after landing procedures. When those are done, we run the after landing checklist, which is radar and predictive wind shear off, so there is no radar indications here, and the amber predictive wind shear off is showing, so that's off, and that's the after landing procedure complete. Alright, with the runway now vacated, we can go ahead and start the taxi to the gate. Now, taxi to the gate is fairly easy for us. We just go straight ahead to the right, and then we are already right at the terminal where we're going to park on for today's flight. Now, quick word on taxi speeds over here. When you're taxiing on a long straight taxiway, you can accelerate all the way up to 30 knots. In a tight turn, however, use no more than 10 knots. And finally, when you are backtracking on a runway, 50 knots of speed are permissible. Last but not least, when you're taxiing on an apron, the maximum speed would be 15 knots. Alright, so here we go, on the way to the terminal. Let's talk about one last thing here, that is single engine taxi. It is normal procedure on the A320 to shut one engine down during taxi in. Doing that is quite easy. First of all, make sure that you're on a long straight line. Then you go to the overhead panel, to the hydraulic and the electric hydraulic pump, turn that on. This assures that steering, nose wheel steering, will be available at all times, and once that is on and the APU avail is showing, simply shut down engine number 2. Always shut down engine number 2 for single engine taxi, never shut down engine number 1. Generally, there is no change to the taxi characteristics of the aircraft as an engine is shut down. The only thing you might notice is that you may need a little bit of additional power in order to keep the airplane moving. And that is basically all there is to it. That is how you do single engine taxi. As you can see, I'm not standing in the rudder, I'm not doing anything. The plane keeps going straight, the plane keeps going forward, it doesn't stop. Basically, it taxis very, very nicely. Okay, we're about to turn to the left over here to enter our gate positions. So, entering the apron, first of all, tight turn, so 10 knots maximum speed. And then entering the apron, we must not accelerate to more than 15 knots after that. Now, when you're operating with just a single engine, the airplane generally taxis a little bit nicer without a tendency to accelerate all the time. And when you are going through tight turns, you might actually have to add a little bit of thrust on the remaining engine in order to maintain your speed. In general terms, use no more than 40% N1 during single engine taxi in order not to cause any hazard to ground personnel. As you can see, it accelerates nicely with just a single engine. So, to the right is our gate, Bravo 24. So let's go ahead and turn into there. We are going to switch off the nose light and the runway turn-off lights as we turn into the gate. And now simply follow the lead-in line so that your aircraft gets nicely aligned with the actual gate position. You might need a little bit of thrust as you go to through the turn, as the airplane has a little bit of drag, added to it when you are doing a tight turn. Okay, here we go. So we're going to stop right on one of those lines. Remember where they are. Personally, it always helps me look to the side, so they are located somewhere being here. So we just keep the airplane rolling for a bit until we roughly stand on that line. The nose wheel is located a tiny bit behind you, so I would say something like this should more or less get us on the line. Alright, when the gate position has been reached, set the parking brake, turn off the electric hydraulic pump again, and then we can turn on the APU bleed. And thereafter, as soon as APU bleed is verified up here on the ECAM, we shut down the remaining engine. Alright, with our engines shutting down, we are now monitoring the shutdown, and as soon as the N2 is below 20%, we are going to continue with our procedures. So N2 is below 20, that means we can turn off the beacon light, and as soon as the doors are disarmed, as they are now, by as you can see by the slide symbol having disappeared, when the doors are disarmed we can turn the seatbelt signs to off. Finally, turn off the fuel pumps, and then we can run the parking checklist. The parking checklist goes as follows. Parking brake or chocks, that's the parking brake set. Engines, off. Wing light, off. Fuel pumps, off. And that is the parking checklist complete. And this already concludes our tutorial. Now let's see how I parked the airplane. Yeah, almost on the spot. So as you can see, the technique by looking outside to the side and remembering where the line that you are aiming for is located and picking a position abeam of that usually helps getting your airplane parked pretty precisely for when there is no marshaller or guidance system available. Now that we are on block, let's go ahead and go to the ground menu. We are going to toggle the jetway, toggle the ground power unit, and toggle the chocks. And with the ground power unit available, we connect that, and then we can turn off the APU bleed and the APU master switch. Now the airplane is operating on ground power and no longer using any fuel that previously the APU would have used. So that concludes our tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I am very keen on your feedback on this tutorial series, as I deliberately designed it a little bit easier so that beginners can also learn the iniBuilds A320neo and fly it like a professional. I'm very much looking to your feedback on this one. Do let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you did like the video and if you're up for more, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Until then, thank you very much for your attention, thank you for watching. As always, if you're up for a more detailed tutorial series on the A320, then be sure to watch my Phoenix series next. And with that, all I can say is thank you for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.